horrible, huge corporations and horrible, huge Wall Street meatheads. These horrible institutions like that Wall Street cost maybe $50 to $100 billion a year to sustain it, which you and I have to pay for it. So let's take care of ourselves for a change. Let's assume that tomorrow every citizen that works, and that's another incentive for people to go to work and declare their money and enter the Social Security system. Never mind those greedy fatheads that they claim that Social Security should be in the stock market, it should be in the hands of experts and money managers. You know what? That's all BS. The only thing that works is a good, efficient government that keeps a record of who is who and what everybody pays, and based on that, everybody gets paid in return. So the social system is working very well, so we should leave it alone. What we should do, however, as citizens, we should be able to borrow on our own potential and on the fact that we're working, and we pay Social Security and taxes every year. So I suggest, this is only a suggestion, this is only a skeleton of a plan, this is only an outline, but I do suggest that for every year you work, you'll be able to borrow $2,000. Which means if you work 5 years, you can get $10,000. Which means if you work 10 years, you can get as much as $20,000. If you married and your spouse never worked, she's entitled to some money as well, provided that she pays for her own loan, because in case of divorce and everything else, you don't want the government to investigate and be a detective and so on and so forth. No, every individual is responsible for his or her own loan. So now we're going to borrow money based on the work we did. I worked 20 years. I should be able to borrow as much as $40,000. So, and every year, so I can go back into business, or I can do whatever I think is necessary, I have to have a plan why I need the money. And besides, I'm borrowing against my own Social Security, which means every year, if I borrow, let's say, $10,000 that I need now to be buried, and I'm 62 or 65 now actually, the average lifespan is 77. So I have 12 years to pay the 10-year that I borrowed. 10 years, I would pay $1,000 a year. So I have like 12 years to pay, the government will get $12,000. If I live 15 years, the government will get $15,000, but no more than that. On $10,000 I borrow, they can only get $5,000 more, period. In the meantime, I'll have the money on the side, in a bank or whatever, and it will always be there for me just in case I need it, in case I die. I don't have to be a burden to my kids, grandkids, or anybody else. And I don't have to be to be thrown in some landfill. That's not very dignified, let's face it. So, but younger people that can borrow against their own effort and their own potential, they can pay maybe $1,000 a year. If they borrow $10,000, about 10 years, they'll pay they pay their loan back, the principal, but then there's their interest involved. But assuming you don't pay all the money, all the principal, all the interest, when you become 62, then the government moves in and says, okay, you make $15,000 a year, Social Security, we're going to keep that money for all the money that you're supposed to make 62 years old, we're going to keep it all so you can pay the principal and the interest. So you're going to retire at 63. If you borrow money, $20,000, you may retire at 64, or you may retire at 65, or you may want to retire at 62, but half of the money will be collected by the Social Security to pay the principal and the interest that you owe, in case you have to wait to retire at 62, in case you can't find a job, or there's something wrong with you, for medical reasons, or whatever. You go ahead and retire at 62, I have no problem with that. But I suggest you retire at 65, which is probably the best age to retire, because of the longevity involved here. People live a long time. I live average 75, 77 years old. So it's going to be 80 years old. So it's best that you retire between 64 and 66 years old. Now, so the government or the Social Security system is going to get paid no matter what. And it's guaranteed by your own effort, your own potential, your own payments. That would be much better than any other system available today, or introduced by so-called experts, economists, from all over the world. I have not heard a better, more viable system that would help the system. Within weeks, the economy is going to pick up. And we're going to be self-reliant, and we're going to be self-insured. We don't have to rely on the huge corporations anymore, or the government for that matter. I don't think I have anything else to say. I just hope that enough people call you congressmen or senators and the president and try to implement the stimulus plan as soon as possible. Thank you.